So in today's session, we will be discussing upon the various organizational structures and how this project management is executed with the variety of organizational structures. Three basic structures we have to take into account. One is functional organizational structure, second is pure project organizational structure, and third is matrix organizational structure. So let us go one by one. The first one, that is functional organizational structure. In this type of structure for functionally organized projects, the project is assigned to the functional units that has the most interest in ensuring its success or can be most helpful in implementing it. So when we are taking into account this functional organizational structure, we are more concerned about the various functions inside the organization. When we say functions, it may be function like marketing, it may be a function like HR management, function like design, function like manufacturing, function like procurement. So depending upon the variety of functions which are involved for your project, the organizational structure will be aligned as per the various functions. If we look at the diagram, check whether the diagram is visible to you for functional organization. So the project is managed with existing functional hierarchy. Now, this is a typical functional organizational structure which is used for or how a project is managed. When your organization is having functional organizational structure, it has been shown in the flow chart or the diagram which is in front of you. So there is a manufacturing company. The name of the company is Delta Manufacturing Incorporation. So the top authority for this company is president. So you can see at the topmost level you have Delta Manufacturing Incorporation president. Under him there are variety of functions available. You can see human resource, second is finance and administration, and then there are also another variety of functions available like marketing, engineering, manufacturing, procurement, etc. Now the project which is to be executed, how it will be executed with the existing functional hierarchy, functional levels available in the organization. So you can see under the engineering function, you have electronics engineering, software engineering, mechanical engineering, design. These are the sub functions available. Under manufacturing, you have fabrication, assembly, testing, production scheduling, etc. So these are a variety of functions. When we say about the procurement, it is about the purchasing, it is receiving and inspection. These are the variety of functions. And when we go for marketing, it is about customer service, the sales at domestic level, the sales at international level. These are the variety of functions. Now, when you wish to execute a project with this existing organizational structure, which is based upon the variety of functions, then you can see there is a dotted rectangular shape which is shown, and it is about the project coordination. So the person who is project manager for a certain project, he needs to coordinate with all these functional heads to execute the project, because the organizational structure of this particular organization is functional organizational structure. So whatever functions are there, the people are working in their own functions, and that's why the project manager needs to have coordination with all the functional areas, all the functional levels in your organization, and try to carry out the project. So for every organizational structure, there are certain advantages and limitations. So the advantages of this functional organizational structure is there is maximum flexibility in the use of staff, as the people they are associated with their functional area. The people will not be assigned only to a specific project, so you have maximum flexibility to utilize the people from variety of functional areas. Individual experts can be utilized by many different projects. So a person who is working in a specific functional area, his expertise can be utilized by multiple projects simultaneously, because he is not assigned to a single project. He is assigned to his functional area, and that functional area is getting coordinated by the project managers of different projects. Specialists in the division can be grouped to share knowledge and experience. So in a particular functional area, if you have certain people specialized in a particular domain, so they can be grouped together so that they can share their knowledge and experience with each other. The functional division also serves as a base for technological continuity when individual chooses to leave the job, leave the project, or even the parent firm. So this functional division will be like a base of technological continuity. Even a certain individual who is working on a particular project, if he leaves the project or even if he leaves the firm, he leaves the job, still other people who are working in that functional area will be also associated with certain project, and then that technological continuity will not get disturbed. The functional division contains the normal path of advancement for individuals whose expertise is in the functional area. So whether the people they are working with what kind of project and whether there are projects available or not, the normal path of advancement will be always available for people who are working in certain functional divisions or functional areas. There are certain disadvantages of this functional organizational structure. The primary disadvantage of this arrangement is the client is not the focus of activity and concern. Functional unit has its own work to do, which usually takes precedence over the work of the project and hence over the interest of the client. So, in this particular organizational structure, the people who are working in a particular functional area, they will have their own departmental work which has been assigned by their functional head. In addition to that, they will be also taking part as a team member in certain projects, and the project manager will be assigning certain tasks to them. But since they are primarily working in the functional area, so preference will be given to the works which are assigned by the functional head, and slightly the tasks which are related to the projects they will be kept aside. And because of this, the client, he is not the focus of activity for the person who is working in that functional area. His more focus is on the activities which are assigned by his functional head, and that's why there may be delays in the projects. The functional division tends to be oriented towards the activities particular to its function. It is not usually problem oriented in the sense that a project should be successful. So the activities, the works which are conducted by the people in a particular functional division, they tend to be more oriented towards their own function. Like people, they are, if the people we consider from a particular functional area, like it may be with respect to uh, design or manufacturing, or the people who are working in the functional area like HR management or procurement, so they will be more interested to carry out the activities with respect to their own function, own functional area. They will be less bothered about the problems which are coming up in the project with respect to their functional area. So that is another disadvantage. Lack of coordinate effort tend to make response to the client needs slow and difficult. For the project manager, it becomes difficult to coordinate with variety of people in different functional areas. So it slightly goes for delay in the response to the customer needs. The motivation of people assigned to the project tends to be weak, as they are more interested in their functional area, so they have less inclination towards the work assigned by project manager. Such an organizational arrangement does not facilitate holistic approach to the project. So since everybody is only responsible, only concerned about his own functional area, he is not considering the holistic approach, overall approach, which is with respect to the project. Only those issues that are directly within the interest area of functional home may be dealt with carefully. So the people will be dealing with the issues which are only within the boundary of their functional area. They will not deal with other issues carefully. So uh, that will prevent them from having a holistic approach, a broader approach towards the project. Another type of organizational structure for project management is pure project organizational structure. In this case, this is exactly opposite from the functional organizational structure. In functional organizational structure, people are working in their own functional level, functional department, and the project manager is coordinating with them for the requirement of your project. So obviously their more focus is on the functional requirements and less focus is on project requirements. So this particular pure project organizational structure, we are going for dedicating a team of people who are assigned for a particular project, and they will be working on that particular project. Multiple domains, multiple functional area people, they will be picked up and they will be assigned to a particular project. So once they are assigned to a particular project, they have nothing to do with their functional department. They have to only focus on the project to which they have been assigned. So in this case, the project is separated from rest of the parent system. So it is completely, that project team is separated from the other functional areas or other people who are working in the organization. They are completely taken up for only a certain project. It becomes a self-contained unit with its own technical staff, its own administration, tied to the parent firm by strands of periodic progress reports and oversight. So this particular project organizational structure, that project team, they will have their own organizational structure. They will have their own marketing team, they will have their own purchase team, they will have their own HR people, they will have their own design people, they will have their quality control department. So everything will be self-contained, self-sustained. So they are not depending on other people working in the organization for carrying out certain activities. Whatever is required to execute the project, those all people will be involved in that project team. So that type of structure, we call it as pure project organizational structure. So depending upon the requirements of the project, the project teams will be formed. So this is a diagrammatic representation of pure project organizational structure. You can see for some XYZ company, you will have president at the top, and then there are different levels of functional area, like you have vice president for marketing, vice president for manufacturing, vice president for R&D. So variety of functions as a functional organizational structure. But in that, you will have certain specific organizational structure dedicated to the projects. So we can say there is a program manager, Under that program manager, there are two project managers: project manager for project A, project manager for project B. Now we need to understand what is the meaning of this project manager and program manager. Okay. Now, project and program, these are two slightly similar words, but there is some difference between this. Project is at bottom level. Above that, one step if you go, it is nothing but the program. And there is one more step above the program, which is called as portfolio. So let us say there is any organization which is working in variety of projects. Let us say the company is working in infrastructure projects. The company is also working in software projects. The company is also working in, you can say, automotive projects, something like this. So what we can say, infrastructure, software, then automotive sector, oil and gas sector, these are some of the portfolios of your company. So these are the areas in which your company is undertaking the projects. Now if I take infrastructure as a portfolio for the company, under infrastructure, the variety of programs, variety of areas the company is undertaking the projects is: one is, like, let us say, highway construction, highway development. Second is, let us say, uh, development of airports. Third is development of infrastructure for railways, like tunnels, bridges, etc. And fourth is, let us say, construction of residential and commercial infrastructure, or residential and commercial complexes. Okay. So these are nothing but the various programs under the portfolio of infrastructure projects. I hope you have understood. Infrastructure development is the portfolio of your company, one of the portfolio. Under infrastructure portfolio, the various programs is highway development, highway construction, airport construction, railway infrastructure development, residential building development, commercial buildings development. These are some of the programs which are under the portfolio of infrastructure development. Under each program, there will be different projects which are to be undertaken. Let us say if I take one program out of that, that is construction of highways or highway development, then under that highway development program, there may be one project like Mumbai Goa highway, that is project 1. Second may be Mumbai Nagpur highway, that is project 2. So Mumbai Goa highway is also highway project. Mumbai Nagpur highway is also a highway project. Third will be, let us say, Mumbai to Ahmedabad highway, that is another project. So these all projects are related to what? These all projects are related to various highways to be constructed. So that is project 1, project 2, project 3, project 4. But these all are under construction of highways. So the program for these all projects is highway uh, highway development or construction of highways. And this highway construction is kind of infrastructure development. So the portfolio is about infrastructure development. So now, coming to the pure project organizational structure, if you have certain specific project, for that particular project you will have a marketing team, you will have some people assigned to manufacturing, you will have certain people assigned to R&D, some people assigned to finance, some people assigned to HR or personal section, some people assigned to any other specific functional area required for your project. But those people will be only limited to the project or project A work. They will not be knowing anything from the project B or project C or any other project undertaken by the organization. So this kind of organizational structure, we call it as pure project organizational structure. So the people who are assigned to a particular project, they will remain with the project right from beginning to the completion of the project. Once the project is completed, then the organization will think on what to do with these people, whether they should be assigned to some other work, some other project, or in certain cases the people will be taken only for a certain project. Once the project is over, their engagement with the organization will be coming to an end, so they will not be continued with the organization because similar kind of projects may not be taken up in future. So that is another part as far as your pure project organizational structure is concerned. So there are certain advantages. In this case, the project manager has full line authority over the project. The project manager is as good as CEO of a firm that is dedicated to carrying out the project. So project manager is the supreme authority. When you go for pure project organizational structure, the project manager will have complete authority over the project team, the project activities, the project resources which are required. So he can decide what to do, what not to do, and all the responsibility and authorities will be lying with the project manager. All members of project workforce are directly responsible to the project manager. There are no functional division heads whose permission must be sought or whose advice must be heeded before making technological decisions. The project manager is truly the project director. So once we have this kind of organizational structure, pure project, then everyone who is working in that project team should report to the project manager. There is no functional head to whom they should report in the organization for carrying out certain activities. So project manager will be completely having control over the entire project and project team. This will have a shortened communication lines, and that will result in faster communication. There will be less chances of miscommunications, failures. The motivation of the team will be very high, and the team will be more task oriented. The authority is centralized. The ability to make instant decision is greatly enhanced because the single point of contact will be project manager, and he can directly take decisions. That will be uh, greatly helping the project team to take instant decisions. These organizations are structurally simple, and they are relatively easy to understand and implement, and this tends to support holistic approach to the projects because the project leader, project manager, will take care that all the people will be well versed with other functions also, and whenever they are doing particular task, they will take into account the views and the opinions of other people who are working in their project team. There are certain disadvantages. This pure project organizational structure can lead to considerable duplication of efforts in every area, right from clerical staff to the most sophisticated technological support units. So, obviously, there will be a duplication of efforts if you are having multiple projects uh, running simultaneously for your organization. For each project, you are having a separate project team, and for each project team, you have the variety of functional areas people working together for that individual project. So even if you have somebody who is working in project A, he may not be 100% utilized, but he cannot be utilized for project B because we are in pure project organizational structure. For each project, you have to assign different people, and that's why the efforts and people that will go on duplicating, and it will increase the cost of your project and budgetary requirements of your organization. People with critical technical skills may be hired by the project when they are available rather than when they are needed. So uh, there will be very few people who will have a certain critical technical skills, and it is better to hire for the project than to check when they are needed. So disadvantages one and two, the combinedly they make organization of the projects very expensive. So the project cost is very critical and it is going on increasing because we are working with pure project organizational structure. Though individual engaged with projects develop considerable depth in the technology of the project, they tend to fall behind in other areas of their technical expertise. So sometimes with respect to the personal development of the people, if the people they are engaged in a particular project for longer duration or a particular type of project for longer duration, they may get expertise, they may get uh, a depth in knowledge for the particular type of project, but the other areas of their technical expertise they will be failing because they don't have exposure to other areas, other particular uh, other variety of projects, and that will as a personal you can say personal development, that will be hampering their skills. In pure project organizations, the project takes on a life of its own. Friendly rivalry may become bitter competition. So since in organization there are various teams working on individual projects, so there will be certain competition in between the project teams, that which team is performing well, which project gets successfully completed, which team has more achievements or more satisfactory performance. So in that perspective, that competition may lead to a rivalry among the people working in the organization to complete their project successfully. There is considerable uncertainty about what will happen with the project team when the project is completed. Sometimes if the company is not going to undertake that kind of projects in future, the company may not continue the people who are working. They may terminate the people who are working for a particular project because the project has got completed. The third type of organizational structure is a combinational structure. We call it as matrix organizational structure. This is a combination of pure project as well as functional organizational structure. This in this type of matrix organizational structure, we say it is a pure project organizational overlaid on the functional divisions of the parent firm. So we try to combine the advantages of both functional organizational structure and pure project organizational structure so that the limitations or disadvantages they can be eliminated. Being combination of this pure project and functional organizational structure, the matrix organization can take on a wide variety of specific forms depending on which the two extremes, either functional or pure project, it most resembles. If the project or strong matrix, that resembles to pure project organizational structure, and if the matrix is weak, it is resembling to the functional form of organizational structure. Obviously the most preferred will be balanced matrix, which will be having advantages of both functional and pure project and eliminating the disadvantages of both. The project manager controls when and what these people will do, while the functional managers control who will be assigned to the project and what technology will be used. So now the people who are working in this will have two boss. They will be having, or they will get controlled by the project manager also because they are assigned to a particular project. At the same time, they are working in a particular functional organization, so they will be headed by the head of that functional department also. So they need to report to both the heads parallelly. So a typical matrix organizational structure can be like this. So you have a program manager. Under this program manager, there are a variety of projects going on. So project manager 1, project manager 2, project manager 3. For project 1, project 2, project 3. For each project, there are certain people required, but those people will not be only uh, assigned to that particular project. So as and when required, they will be taken up from that functional area. So you can see project manager 1, he requires some people from manufacturing, some people from marketing, some people from finance, some people from R&D, some people from personal department. So likewise from manufacturing, so somebody who is heading this manufacturing functional area, he will have the control that who should be assigned to which project. So he will come to know that total 4 people are required. 3 people are required for project 1, one person is required for project 2. So which person will go for project 2, which 3 people will go for project 1, whether they will continue throughout or in between the people will get exchanged, that the person who is working with project 2 may get shifted to project 1 and project 1 person will get shifted to project 2, because ultimately he is from manufacturing, and whatever his functional head decides, he has to report to that particular project manager. So the control will be with the the functional head, that who should be assigned to what kind of project, and whether the person should be continued or in between they should be swapped. Like if you see the marketing, 1.5% it is required for project 1 and half person is required for project 3. Means if you have one person, 50% of the time he can be utilized by project 1 and 50% of his time can be utilized by project 2, because complete person is not required. They need only 1.5, or project 3 is required only half person. So there is no much work. 50% of work hours for one person that are sufficient to carry out the works for project 3. So likewise, the distribution of the various people working in different functional areas will be assigned to different projects, and they will be reporting to both the people, their functional heads as well as the respective project manager. The advantages are, because the project organization is overlaid on the functional divisions, temporarily drawing labor and talent from them, the project has reasonable access to the entire reservoir of technology in all functional divisions. So the basic advantage will be the entire reservoir of technology from the organization, it can be accessed by the project. When there are several projects, the talents of the functional divisions are available to all the projects, thus sharply reducing the duplication required by pure project structure. So once we know that some XYZ person has expertise in a particular domain, and once we know that that particular expertise is essential for carrying out project 1, project 2, project 3, etc., so his expertise can be utilized for all the 3 projects parallelly, and that will avoid the duplication of the work. There is less anxiety about what happens when the project is completed than in typical of the pure project organization. So people are not bothered about what is going to happen after the project is completed, because they are basically working in their functional area. Temporarily they are working for a particular project. Once that project is over, again they are working in their own functional area. So even though the team members tend to develop a strong attachment to the project, they also feel close to their functional home. Response to client needs is as rapid as in pure project case. The matrix organization is just as flexible. Similarly, matrix organization responds flexibly and rapidly to the demands made by those inside the parent organization. So the advantage of this matrix organization is we are responding faster to the client, as well as we are responding faster to the people within the parent organization. Where there are several projects simultaneously underway, matrix organization allows a better company-wide balance of resources to achieve the several different time, cost, performance targets of individual projects. So when we undertake the balancing of resources, it is always better that we should be with the matrix kind of organizational structure. Few limitations or disadvantages is, if the project is successful and highly visible, doubt will be on who will be in charge, or who is in charge can foster political infighting for the credit and the glory. So whether the functional heads should be praised, they should be rewarded, or the project manager, he should be given credit of the success of the project. If there is other side of the project, if the project fails, always there will be a blame gaming scenario. The project manager will say the functional heads haven't cooperated well. The functional heads will say we have cooperated, but the decisions taken by project managers were not correct, and that's why the project has failed. So there are both the sides. If it is successful, who should be given credit, that will be an issue. And if the project fails, who should be blamed, that will be another issue. If you are working in a pure project organizational structure, the failure or success, whatever happens, it will be solely responsibility of the project manager, because he is as good as CEO of that particular project. But that is not the case in matrix organizational structure. Everybody will try to pass on the responsibility that I was not concerned with that. The If there is failure, they will pass on. If it is a success, everybody will rush for taking the credit. The movement of resources from project to project in order to satisfy several schedules may foster political infighting among the several project managers. All of them tend to be more interested to ensure success of their individual project than in helping total system optimize organization wide goals. So when we are sharing the resources, the project managers will have conflicts among them. They will try to have fights, and they will try to just utilize the resources for their own project as compared to the other. The ability of project manager to negotiate anything from resources to technical assistant to delivery dates is a key contributor to project success. Success is doubtful for a project manager without strong negotiation skills. So now everything depends upon how the project manager negotiates with the higher authorities, with the functional heads, so that he will get the resources from the various functional heads. And those resources which are shared, typically those resources will get more and more available to a particular project. That is essential. Matrix management violates the management principle of unity of command. Project workers have at least two bosses, their functional head and project manager. So actually the management principle is there should be single authority for any command, any orders to be issued. But in this case, the people working, they will be required to follow at least two heads. One is functional head and other is the project manager. So always there will be certain confusion that whose orders to be followed. So that gives rise to another issue in the project manager, that is conflicts in project management. So these all organizational structures, the variety of authorities, the limitations of resources, the sharing of resources, this gives rise to another issue in project management, that is about the conflicts. So these conflicts arise when people working on the same project have somewhat different ideas about how to achieve the project objectives. So as we are knowing, we normally say the two fingers of one hand, they are not same, or all five fingers, they are different. So likewise, when you are having a team, the people who are working in team, everybody will have different views, different ideas, different ways to look at a particular situation. So because of that all, there will be definitely certain conflicts coming into picture. The different ideas about how to achieve the project objectives which are coming from different people, there will be conflict which should be followed, which should be accepted. So we need to take into account certain proper methodology for resolving this conflict. So that will be the next part, how to resolve the conflicts. The process of planning a project usually requires inputs from many people. Even when the project is relatively small and simple, planning involves the interaction of almost all functional and staff operation in the organization. It is virtually impossible for these interactions to take place without conflict. So when there are multiple people, multiple functional areas involved in deciding the or planning the project activities, there will be always conflicts between the functional areas. So we say cross functional conflicts, cross departmental conflicts. Within the team also there will be certain conflicts. All stages of project life cycle appear to be typified by conflicts. These conflicts center on such matters like schedules, priorities, staff and labor requirements, technical factors, administrative procedures, cost estimates, and personality conflicts. So, the variety of matters on which there will be some clash, there will be some conflicts, like the conflicts may be on schedules, the conflicts may be on what should be given priority, the conflicts may be on sharing the resources for human being, staff and labor requirements. The conflicts may be with respect to some technical terms, technical factors in your project, conflicts on administrative procedures for carrying out certain activity, having certain permissions. The conflicts will be on estimation of the cost or budgeting, and there will be some conflicts with respect to personality, cultural sentiments, the behavior aspects of the people, etc. So the conflicts, they fall into three fundamental categories. Groups working on project may have different goals and expectations. There is considerable uncertainty about who has authority to make the decision, and there are interpersonal conflicts between people who are parties at interest in the people. So three different categories of conflicts we can have. So because of the different goals and expectations, there will be conflicts. The uncertainty about who has authority to make decision, there can be certain conflicts. And the people who are parties at interest for the project, there will be interpersonal conflicts among them. So there is a diagram, you can see the intensity of conflicts and the project life cycle. So you can see the variety of conflicts, like conflicts on schedule, conflicts related to priorities, conflicts related to budget, conflicts related to technical terms, conflicts related to the administrative procedures, conflicts on project cost, and conflicts related to personality. So these all, how they appear, what is their intensity over the project life cycle, that has been shown in this particular diagram. So the project life cycle has been divided into four different phases. You can say the project formation phase, early phases of your project, during the main execution of the project, and at the end of the program or at the end of the project. So we can see during the formation there are more conflicts over the priorities, then over the schedules. Also there are conflicts over the procedures, administrative procedures. If you go for early phases of your project, then we say there are more conflicts with respect to the priorities again. Secondly, the conflicts are related to the schedules. During main execution, there are more conflicts now with respect to the schedules. Also, there are more conflicts over the technical aspects of your project. Towards the end, again, there will be more conflicts with respect to the schedules, and there is a average total conflicts line. It has been also shown. So you can see the conflicts are comparatively more at the beginning or at the early phases. Initially, they are slightly high, again they increase at the early phases of your project, again they slightly reduce, and finally at the end of the project they are uh, under control. So they are at the least level, average total conflicts. These are the parties at interest. So who are the parties at interest? One is project team, another is client, and third is functional and senior management of your organization. And the categories of conflicts, either with respect to goals, with respect to the authority, and with respect to the interpersonal aspects. So we can see the project team, the conflicts are with respect to the goals, with respect to the schedule priority, with respect to the authority of taking decision. There are more conflicts with respect to technical aspects, and interpersonal with respect to the personality. Similarly, schedules and priorities, they come under the goals, technical comes under the authority, labor cost, it is coming under the goal. So likewise, the partisan interest and the categories of conflicts we can correlate with each other. Now there are certain measures to resolve the conflicts. We call it as negotiation skills of the project manager. So negotiation is the process through which two or more parties seek an acceptable rate of exchange for items they own or control. So the conflicts are between two or more parties. So when those two or more parties, they come to certain acceptable rate of exchange for items they own or control, so there is some, we can say, there is some agreement upon certain level of achievement, that yes, this is accepted by both the parties who were having certain conflicts. So that is nothing but your negotiation. It is a field of knowledge and endeavor that focuses on gaining the favor of people from whom we want the things. So whenever there are any conflicts, we should go for negotiating and try to come to a conclusion with mutual agreement of both the parties having conflicts. Negotiating to a win-win situation is the key to conflict resolution in project management. So once we go for negotiation for certain conflicts, then both the parties between whom there is conflict, they should feel that this negotiation has led to a win-win situation, that both are having favorable situations, both are having certain gains from this negotiation. That is important in the negotiation principle. The requirements of negotiation are: one requirement for conflict reduction or resolution methods used by project manager is that they must allow the conflicts to be settled without irreparable harm to the project's objectives. So whatever negotiations we are making, whatever conflict resolution we are making, it should not harm the project objectives. Second requirement is the conflict resolution or reduction method used by project manager is that they allow honesty between the negotiations. So there should not be any unethical aspects, there should not be any confusions, there should not be something which is hidden and it is not disclosed to the people involved in that conflicts. So their honesty is very important. The conflicting parties at interest to a project are not enemies or competitor, but rather they are allies, members of an alliance with strong common interest. Why there are conflicts? They are not enemies of each other. They are not having conflicts because they are from different organizations or they want to make profit out of something. They are working in the same organization. They have certain common interest. Like let us say there is certain common resource and there are two project managers who wants that the same resource should be utilized by them for more extent. So that is all with respect to completing their project successfully. So it is a requirement of all conflicting parties to seek solution to the conflict that not only satisfy their own individual needs but also satisfy the needs of other parties to the conflict as well as needs of the parent organization. So when we go for negotiation, it should be always kept into mind that whatever solution we are proposing, it should not give favor to only one party which is in the conflict. It should satisfy the requirements of both the parties which are involved in the conflict, as well as it should satisfy the requirements of the parent organization also. The techniques for negotiations are: separate the people from the problem. So first thing is, we should separate the people which are in conflict from the particular problem. We should focus on interest, not on the positions. So who are the people, what are their positions? We should forget about that, why there is conflict and what is their interest, that we should focus. Before trying to reach agreement, invent options for mutual gain. So before we reach to the final conclusion, final solution, we should check the variety of options available which will satisfy requirements of all involved in the conflicts. It should be mutual win-win situation. Insist on using the objective criteria. So we should insist on some objective criteria to evaluate the gains out of these negotiations and the conflict resolution. So that is all about the conflicts and negotiations skills of the project manager. Finally, concluding remarks of this particular module number 1, the standards which are available in market. One is PMBOK, Project Management Body of Knowledge, which is by Project Management Institute. And secondly, the PRINCE, which is approved by UK government. It is projects in controlled environment. There are certain certifications. At the entry level, we can have certified associate in project management. It is by PMI. And once you gain certain experience, you can go for PMP certification for which is by Project Management Institute. References. Thank you.